In 1429, a dying man called his son to his bedside. He didn't leave him a land. He didn't leave him an army. He left him something far more dangerous. A list of names. Kings, popes, emperors. Every single one of them in debt to the Medici family. His son looked at that list and decided it wasn't long enough. This is a story of how a family of wool traders from Florence became the most powerful dynasty in European history, and how that power almost got them killed. Florence in the 1300s was a city on fire, not literally, but in the way that matters more. Ideas, money, ambition. It was one of the wealthiest cities in Europe, built not on conquest, but on trade. Wool, silk, cloth, and increasingly on something more powerful than any of those, banking. But banking in medieval Florence was not what banking is today. It was dangerous, it was political, and it could destroy a family overnight. The wrong client, the wrong loan, the wrong moment, and everything your family had built across generations could be gone before sunrise. The Medici knew this. They had watched it happen to others, and still, they chose banking because the rewards for getting it right were unlike anything else in the world. The Medici were not the richest family in Florence when they started. They were not the most powerful. They were not the most connected. They were wool traders. Unremarkable, careful, watching. But one man changed everything. Giovanni di Bicci de' Medici. Giovanni was not a gambler. He was not loud. He did not accumulate enemies the way other ambitious men did. He watched them do that. But instead of joining them, he made a different choice. He founded the Medici Bank in 1397. And from the very beginning, he understood something his competitors didn't. He understood that most important client in Europe was not a king. It was the Pope. The Catholic Church in the 15th century was not just a religious institution. It was the largest financial operation on the continent. It collected taxes from every corner of Europe. It funded wars, built cathedrals, paid armies. It moved more money than any monarch alive. But banking for the Pope was not a safe business. The family who held that position before the Medici lost everything, accused of fraud, stripped of their assets, exiled from Florence in disgrace. Their name erased from the city they had helped build. Giovanni knew this. He had watched their fall with his own eyes. He knew exactly what happened to families who got it wrong, and he took the contract anyway, because Giovanni understood something most ambitious men never learn. Risk is not the enemy. Unmanaged risk is. He built systems, checks, safeguards. He created a structure inside the Medici Bank that made it nearly impossible for any one client, any one branch, any one bad decision to bring the whole thing down. If one branch failed, the other survived. If one client defaulted, the bank absorbed it. He made the Medici Bank unbreakable, or as close to unbreakable as any institution in medieval Europe could be. And then he did something even more calculated. He stayed quiet about it. No decorations, no displays of wealth, no enemies made unnecessarily. Giovanni de' Medici moved through Florence like a man who had nothing to prove, while quietly building something that would outlast every loud man around him. It worked. Within decades, the Medici Bank had become the financial backbone of the Catholic Church. Every tax collected across Europe passed through Medici hands. Every papal loan, every church building project, every war the Pope chose to fund. The Medici touched all of it, and with that access came something money alone could never buy: information. Giovanni knew which kings were broke before their own advisors did. He knew which rulers were about to fall, which alliances were fracturing, which wars were coming. In a world where information was power, Giovanni de' Medici was one of the most powerful men alive, and almost nobody knew it. When Giovanni died in 1429, he left behind a bank with branches in Rome, Venice, Geneva, Bruges, and London. He left behind a network that stretched across an entire continent. He left behind a family name that was whispered in the corridors of the Vatican. And he left behind a son who looked at everything his father had built and decided it was just a beginning. That son's name was Cosimo de' Medici, and what he did next would make his father look cautious. Giovanni built the foundation, but his son Cosimo was about to do something his father never dared, and it would make the Medici untouchable. Part 2 is coming. Subscribe so you don't miss it.